decided to come to Anderson, South Carolina, downtown, which was dead as a door now, to start a fine dining restaurant?
It's a crazy story. Sabra and I we met in culinary school in Charleston. I'll give you the brief version. We moved to Columbia. Sabra was the pastry chef at Saluta's restaurant, and I was the chef at Hannah Jane's, and also worked at another restaurant called Divine Foods. And we'd finished our culinary school, and we were just kind of feeling out the waters of what we wanted to do. Which our ultimate goal was to own a restaurant. So we began kind of, once we dated while we were in Columbia, and then we ended up getting married. And after we were married, we really started pursuing opening a restaurant. So good friends of ours, the Kronzis brothers, who own Pixie and Bill's and Cow and Corner restaurants in Clemson, our families are really close, our mothers and fathers. And we started looking, and they said, Bill, Cow and Corners had burned down at this time. This was in mid-90s, late 90s. And the owners, the builders that were rebuilding Cow and Corners were Neil Workman and Steve Kay, who owns Trail Construction and Hill Electric. They owned the Sullivan building. That's kind of how it started. They said, y'all need to do another Cow and Corners over here in Anderson. We have this building that reminds us a lot of Cow and Corners. They said, we're not interested. We actually know some people who are. So they asked us, and so on a crazy whim, we were like, we'll come up here and take a look at Anderson, South Carolina, and look at this building they're talking about. And we came in, the downtown at that time was not anything like it is now. It was pretty run down. But we came in this building and really fell in love with the architecture. And then, of course, back then there was, pre-internet days. So we actually went and got a demographic study at the Chamber of Commerce and kind of did some research, and then we met with the city. And actually I met with Linda McConnell, who's now our city manager. At the time she was in the planning committee, and we met in a little house right down the road from here, and she shared the vision of Anderson's downtown future. And I was a crazy kid at that point. I was 27 years old. Just failure was not even a thought in my mind, or I just had this weird feeling in my gut. I was like, this is what we're supposed to do. This is where we need to open our restaurant. And our parents thought we were insane. And so we began just discussions and went in. My dad helped me with the business plan, and we got a business plan, borrowed some money. Back then it was a lot easier to be able to borrow money than it is today. And we just put one foot in front of the other and just said, we're going to take a crazy bold move, and moved to literally did not know one person. And yes.
And just to let people know, the restaurant business was part of your family's lifeblood for a long time.
Correct. Yeah.
So your family understood when you talked about restaurants.
Absolutely. Who's my namesake, my grandfather, who was he was William George Nickas too. He had the Metropolitan. That's where the Metropolitan comes from in downtown Columbia. Believe it or not, his restaurant was 207 South Main Street. We are 208 South Main Street. That's not a coincidence either.
So you grew up around restaurant business. You as a kid, and
I did. My grandfather actually had passed away before I was born. He died pretty young, but my father had a drugstore. He had his own drugstore, and they had the little grill. You had breakfast and lunch in there, and it's where all the judges and lawyers and all kind of came out. So I kind of cut my teeth in there, and then I eventually went to go to work at as a kid bussing tables at the Elite Epicurean in Columbia, which was an institution, kind of like a Sullivan's in Columbia for years. And I really fell in love with just the action, and the pace of the restaurant was something I really loved that. And, and just kind of went in my journey of working at restaurants, from the Mexican restaurants to Ryan's to when I got in college at Francis Marion, where I really started working in a white tablecloth restaurant, a restaurant called Minot's in Florence, South Carolina, that really just put a spark in my passion for upscale food and wine and catering. And that's what our restaurant is modeled very similarly to what they did.
And so you went to culinary school because of that passion.
Yes.
and then you ended up here. So we got back to here. Did they kind of fill you in on the history of this building when you came in here?
I was so ignorant. I knew, but I didn't know to the extent until we got open. And then I had the actual Sullivan family reach out to me. And they said, we would like to have a reunion at the restaurant. And sure enough, they did. Within the first year we were open, we did something on a Sunday. And gosh, even back then, that's 20 years ago now, there was 100 and something Sullivans here. And there's still quite a bit, of distant cousins that still live here in Anderson. So I didn't have an idea of what the magnitude, I guess, of this building, what the Sullivan family, what Sullivan Hardware meant to Anderson.
What have you, talk about the transition from when you opened till now? What kind of things have changed? What have you learned? And
Gosh.
How have you been worked into the community? Because I know you're a major part of the community now.
Yes, we, like I said, when we opened, we were just young kids trying to put, one day in one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. And, as we really, just something my dad instilled in me years ago in business is, the community is your support, and and in turn you support the community. It's really values that he taught me a long time ago in life. He did it in his business. And we got involved really early on in just helping some charities that just were really part of what, Sabra and I really believed in and what's in our heart. I mean, gosh, the list goes on, and, it's evolved over the years. But just, I just have this philosophy that to be able to, it's just how it works. It's how God works. It's, the Lord blesses us, and in turn we bless those in our community. And it's this continual beautiful cycle of how human nature should work. Is we want to reach out and help the others, and others support you. You don't do it to be supported. You do it because you love what you're putting your heart in. But then from God, out of God's overflow, He can't help but in turn bless you from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let me ask you about that, because early on y'all started doing that. Really early on y'all started jumping in and supporting. And I remember before I knew you really, I came to, I think it was an AIM thing y'all did, a support. And what struck me, Bill, is very different, because I've been to a million of those things over the years, is usually you come into a restaurant, a nice restaurant, volunteers to do a charity event, and you come in and there's some chicken fingers and cheese, but you guys put out your best stuff. Y'all had your signature dishes and all your you had your quail and all your other your shrimp and grits. What made you decide to go completely all in when you did the charity kind of stuff?
It is because that's just really one of what we're about in general. Is I have this philosophy: if we don't do it right, we're not going to do it at all. And I've been raised that way. So whenever I support something, I don't want to give them our leftovers. I want to give them our best, because in turn, I just feel in turn they're going to give those that they're supporting in their charity their best. So I feel like it starts with us, how simple it might seem with just food, but for us it's just more than that. We always want to put our best foot forward and get it just not give the leftovers, if that makes sense.
So you got here, the first 10 years went pretty well, and then suddenly the economy went south.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about the struggles y'all ran into during that, being in a downtown that still had not really turned completely around.
Difficult time. It really kind of hit us late 2007, early 2008. And we, at that point, I'd purchased the real estate here. And things I purchased it in 2004 up to 2008 were going really, really well. The economy was doing well, and then Anderson was kind of one of those, you saw the rumblings in the news. We had yet to feel it here, and when we felt it, when it came, it really came, and we began to lose tenants here, and things just crippled us fast. I literally put every nickel of savings I had to try to just keep the restaurant afloat, and just know that next month will be better, and next month will be better, and we're going to get out of this hump, and the economy is going to turn around, and it just didn't. And literally we had to close in 2009. We had to make the decision to close the restaurant. I had nothing left. At that point we were clicking away at losing between $8,000 and $10,000 a month, and it was just brutal.
It was brutal for the community when that happened, but it didn't last very long. You weren't shut down for very long.
No, we weren't. We're real blessing. We had some friends of ours, Covington, East Oxford, who made a decision that they wanted to purchase the real estate from Sabra and I, which freed up a bunch of capital for us to be able to get the debt paid off and be able to borrow some money to get the restaurant back open. So we were closed about almost 7 weeks there in the transition of us closing and them purchasing the real estate and, everything that was involved there to pay the debt off, borrow more money, rehire employees and everything. We had, because when we decided we were closing, we meant it. That was it. The employee and staff at that point had picked up other jobs. Economy was bad, so we had that 7-week brief period. But in a weird way, looking at it now, it was probably one of the biggest blessings in my life.
I was going to ask you about that because at the time that had to seem like, man, this was great, and we knew you were talking about your faith being in it, and then that hit, and you had to be questioning what is going on here. But then 7 weeks is not a very long period of time. It seemed like it then, I'm sure.
Sure.
But if you'd been much longer, you couldn't have reopened easily, right?
Correct. It was still kind of, I guess, we had the buzz of Sullivan's closing, maybe they're reopening. There was a lot of articles in the paper, and I tell you what it really did for me, Greg. I guess I didn't realize, how much people care. You don't, as the saying goes, you don't realize people until it's gone, and that last couple of weeks leading up into closing, the support that we had from the community was just the most humbling and overwhelming thing I've ever experienced. And I really, it enabled us to be able to reset and say, if God's given us this second opportunity, we don't want to let it be wasted. And that kind of was, I call it Sullivan's 2.0. Of really just focusing on what excellence means to us and what that means in our company and how we were going to move forward as a company.
And so your second 10 years have just taken off.
Gosh.
And I know we've talked about this before, but you start showing up on these national things. One of only 2 restaurants in the state to be the top 100 restaurants in the country. In the United States, little Anderson has one of the top. Did that kind of thing really encourage you as you continue?
Gosh, it did. And we didn't see any of that coming. We literally just made a decision. Our mission statement is creating great memories through excellence in food service and ambiance. And we try to make every decision we do in our business through that mission statement. And, excellence is something is a word that we use a lot around here. I heard Vince Lombardi say this, and it's just a great quote, and I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit. He said, our goal is always to strive for perfection, but in the meantime, it's a goal that we know we'll never obtain, but in the meantime, we might catch excellence. So we strive in every area, food service and ambiance, to try to get better each and every day. And and I made that was a commitment that I really made, kind of a pledge to myself and to my wife and to our staff when we reopened, that we were going to do every single day. We were going to try to improve and get better and never settle for just, okay, this is how it's going to be. And just little by little, it's just one of those things. And building a business or anything else you do in life, it would just on momentum, one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. We just began to build and build and build and got to where we here are now in year 20.
You're not just a businessman, because a lot of times you meet people that own restaurants. You and Sabra both still have a real hand in the food here, right?
We do.
Food decisions. Tell me about how your signature dish developed and some of the things y'all still do in terms of actually being the chef that's inside of both of you.
Yes, well, Sabra still does all the desserts exclusively. She's still, it's crazy how that's grown. She's doing anywhere between 70 and 100 desserts a week now.
How does she do that?
Gosh, I don't know. She makes it look effortless.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
If anybody's tried to do a dessert.
Gosh, yeah, she gets it done, and that's her big thing. We still kind of have our big roles, and that her big role is desserts, and payroll is an area that she still handles for us in the company. And for me, I still have it. I've had to kind of change roles as the saying goes, if you're working in your business, you can't work on your business. So I've kind of had to step out of the day-to-day in the kitchen, but I'm still very involved in the decision-making of what we do from on our dishes, from catering to AM kitchen and PM kitchen. We talk together as a team. All of our chefs, we meet every Thursday. We talk about what we're doing in the kitchen, what we need to do differently, what the dishes that we need to change. I give my input. We'll cook and try things. And, so I'm still very, very involved. Our trigger demure was something that it used to be grouper demure when we first opened, and unfortunately, the inflated prices of grouper enabled us to change to triggerfish. It just was outrageous. We wouldn't be able to consciously sell it for what we needed to. So it changed to trigger demure, probably 10 years, almost in that transition, I want to say, in that 2009 transition. So that's a dish that's been on since day one.
Developed, though. How did you come up with that dish?
It was really that was a dish I had cooked at Hannah Jane's. I cooked it. There was a restaurant in Hilton Head that I worked called Primo Restaurant. Sabra and I did our co-op there, and actually when we were done with our co-op at culinary school, we stayed and worked through the season there. And really nice white tablecloth restaurant. And it was there was a similar kind of dish that I got to come up with a special here and there that I came up with, and it kind of just evolved as I cooked, kind of around the state. And that was our special opening night was the grouper demure. And it's one of those things that I, probably 5 years into it, I tried to put it on the menu, and it just, I don't know, it's so weird, but I can't explain it. It just didn't sell. It wasn't nostalgic. So we took it off the menu, and it's been a special every night ever since. So it's one of our specials that we're kind of known for. And, we do it with pan sauteed shrimp and scallops, light sherry cream sauce. We do it on a bed of saffron rice and whatever vegetables are seasonal at the time, and a baby field green salad. And that's kind of been our number one dish. I would say it's kind of what we're known for. And it just started from day one, week one, as a special, and just kind of let it kind of just take off from there.
And you told me one time you ordered your steak somewhere special, right? Something different for your steaks?
Yes, we use top tier certified Angus beef is what we're proud to serve here. We're licensed. It's basically certified Angus beef is a certain brand that is the top tier. We call it the top 10% of choice. So it's one step below prime. We don't use a prime product. CAB does have a prime product, but we use, it's called the terminology now is upper choice. And it's just, we're just big fans of the way it's used, the way the product is aged, taken care of. It's not all the hormones injected into it, the way it's grain fed, that's really big to us prior to slaughter. It really gives the marbling that we like and the beef and the flavor profile that we want in the beef. So we've been, proud to serve that now for many, many years, and it's kind of what we've been known for our beef. I think our beef is some of the best in the state.
Did you ever think y'all would become famous for your burgers? It seems like a lot of people.
No, it's just it's one of those things. Sabra and I, when we did our lunch menu, which I'm very proud of, we did a big change about 5 years ago on a pretty dramatic change in our lunch menu, and it's kind of been, it was just, Sabra and I just kind of put together our all-star list of dishes that we've done, lunch things that we've loved to do and specials over the years, and kind of put it all together on a menu. And it's just, we're really, really proud of our lunch menu. We think it's super unique, and our burgers are just, they're, I guess the best way to say it, they're made with love. The guys in the kitchen love to cook them because they love to eat burgers, and I think that has a lot to do with food. When you love something, you put that extra love in it when you cook it.
Well, speaking of love, what made you decide to do that oat and pot roast sandwich? Because that's something I can't stop eating, and I'm going to weigh 300 pounds. You don't take it off the menu at some point.
Yeah, it's that we have a lot of those dishes kind of subliminally on our menu, because Sabra and I like comfort food. We cook at home. People think we're eating filet mignon every night. We're not. we love good comfort food. I love some good fried chicken and macaroni and cheese like anyone else. And we've tried to take some of those comfort foods like that, like pot roast, and then put a little twist on it and do it open face, a lot of gravy and cheese on it, and finish it in the oven. And it's just become like, there's another one on our dinner menu. A lot of people don't realize that we've kind of done a twist on. We have our duck fries, and it's basically a twist on chili cheese fries. If you ever had chili cheese fries, we take fingerling potatoes and we smoke duck, and we do smoked duck breast on there, and then we top it with a chipotle mascarpone cheese, finish those in the oven. And so we'll kind of take those little home cooked kind of things and put our own twist to it.
All right, let's talk about a couple things that are missing. What happened to the BET?
The BET, it's funny that you say that, because that's probably one of my favorites. Sabra and I love that. Bacon, egg, and tomato. For those that don't know, we did it on pumpernickel. It's really weird. As time went on, when we made that big change about 5 years ago, I let the numbers speak for themselves, and we pulled numbers. What was selling wasn't, and that was just one that wasn't selling. I think people are weary. At least I'm weary when I go somewhere else and eat egg salad. I'm very weary on where I eat it. I can say that we made it fresh. It was, as you know, Greg, you love that too.
Oh man, and I had a couple of friends who, for a while, just didn't want to come up here because they couldn't get a BET. I wanted a BET.
Yeah. But that's good to know. Maybe we'll have to debut that and run some specials.
The best egg salad ever. Well, let's talk about that. What are some other things that, just out of curiosity, that you thought would go over well, that dishes that just didn't work here?
God, that's a good question. I tell you, one for me that I really love is veal. I'm a big fan of veal. I love veal. We have tried it in every application that we can possibly think of, from a big veal chop with goat cheese and truffle and a truffle demi, to veal parmesan, to veal scallopini marsala, piccata, you name it. It's just, we have not had much luck with it. It's just a dish that's just never made it here.
So that's the one that just, nothing else jumps out?
Well, that's one that really jumps out to me, that I've just, because I'm such a fan of veal, I've tried it every way to see if I can get people to eat it. And I feel like we've stuck to our commitment. Ones that haven't sold real well, that we've really stayed, rack of lamb was one that we really had to stay committed to at the beginning, because people were
very good.
Yeah, thank you. And it's become really actually extremely popular now. But that would be one that I say we've really stayed committed to. And duck is one that we've really stayed committed to, that didn't sell at first, but we've really have, our clientele that really loves it now, and we sell it. But veal would probably be my number one.
What on the other side of that coin, what can people not get enough of? What can you just keep selling?
Well, I say we have two dishes, well, including, if we count the trigger, we have two that have been on the menu since day one. That's our filet mignon with blue cheese sauce. That's been on since day one, and our stuffed pork chops. The stuffed pork chops is a dish that I came up with. That, but believe it or not, thank you. It's one. Believe it or not, when Sabra and I lived in Columbia, we love. Being chefs, on our days off, that's what we did. We cooked and ate great meals. We did that, and I just kind of came up with that dish, having the Greek influence of, with marinated it, and now we actually brine that. We actually brine the pork. We brine it first. Once we're done with a 2-day brine, then we marinate it in olive oil and garlic and lemon juice and basil and oregano and salt and pepper. Then we and stuff it with goat cheese. So that kind of has so then we wanted to be able to kind of have that salty sweet mix. So then that's when we took onions, we caramelized them with balsamic vinegar and sugar, and really reduce them down to this nice sticky goo almost that I call, and we grill those pork chops, and then top them with those caramelized balsamic onions, and it's that salty sweet thing, and it's just kind of been a dish that we're known for.
Potatoes,
there's garlic whipped potatoes that are just again made with love, and lots of butter and garlic and salt and pepper, and just whipped perfectly.
Well, the other one I hear people talking about all the time is shrimp and grits.
Yes.
That's been a staple for here.
Yes.
And how did you come up with that recipe?
Shrimp and grits, when we first, I'll tell you a funny story with that. When we first opened, I used to prepare it a different way, which was, I would call the more low country way of preparing shrimp and grits. We would take, fresh shrimp, and we'd use the shells and we'd make a shrimp stock. Then we would bread the shrimp and add equal amounts of stock and white wine, and then reduce that down, add a little cream, and finish it. That's a real traditional Charleston way to make shrimp and grits. And it was one of those things, we were selling it, but I was like, we need to do something different. And Sabra and I went on a little eating trip to New Orleans, and really just loved the food in New Orleans. I was like, what about doing some tasso? And, because New Orleans is known for the tasso ham there. So I was like, what about doing tasso ham and a shrimp and grits? So when we get back from New Orleans, we ordered some tasso ham, started playing around with it, really came up with a great recipe for shrimp and grits. And it's just kind of our little twist that we've done. So it's a little bit of Low Country, it's a little bit of New Orleans in it, and it's just something that's really made us famous. And it's that tasso ham, I feel like, is the key ingredient to that.
Okay. The other thing, I guess we touched on earlier, desserts. How do you decide which desserts? Because people are always asking particular.
I'll tell you with that. I'll tell you the secret. It's whatever Mama wants to do, and Sabra she makes what she's in the mood for. So there's no rhyme or reason to that. She kind of has her staples that our peanut butter pie and key lime pie that people are constantly we can't make it enough. So the other one, she does seasonal things, like she'll come up when peaches are in season, she'll do peaches and cream cheesecake and a peach layer cake. So she'll do pumpkin white chocolate cheesecake in the fall, winter months. That's a seasonal one there. She also does an apple. Now you can get apples all the time, but it's typically a fall, winter thing that she does. And then, she'll start doing more fruit-based kind of desserts when we get into the spring and summer. But to answer your question, is whatever she is in the mood to do.
Okay, so you're now we'll talk about the celebration in a minute, but you're starting your next 20 years now. What do you see coming in the next few years? Y'all got any big idea? I know you just redid your kitchen. Mm-hmm. What's on your plate? What's on your plate for the next few years?
For the next few years, it is really it's sticking with that model of excellence. We kind of have a tagline for our 20 years, and it's celebrating 20 years of excellence, and we're just getting started. We really want to. I really feel that our best years of a company are really ahead of us. I really feel that with all my heart, and we're going to really focus on getting our food better, constantly trying to continue to, we're going to have our staples that people that come to know and love, but again, try to push. We have our big word as a company this year is change. We want to continue to change and evolve and to try to stay on the cutting edge, and you got to really push the envelope. It's really scary because you really have to kind of push. So that's a real big initiative for us, is to change, but change in a healthy way, in a very strategic way, not haphazardly. And perfect the food and service. I don't believe we're there yet. I believe we got a lot more work that we can do in the food and service, and we can be more efficient. Food could be hotter, it could be better, it could be fresher. So that's from the restaurant piece. That's certainly that'll never ever change for us, and we're committed as a company to getting better at that area. The other piece of that is catering. Catering is an area when the thing that we really did some soul searching on at that time being closed is we needed to find other forms of revenue in the slow economic times. So we really we had done catering in the past, but never, for the charitable events and a wedding here and there. We really began to pursue it as an area that we really wanted to grow as a company. And it's crazy how, again, just word of mouth, hard work, one day at a time, it's really grown into, we'll be doing 70 weddings this coming year.
And talk about why your catering is different. You kept using the phrase earlier, white tablecloth. Y'all really have white tablecloth catering.
Correct. We, one of our keys, I feel like, is we're really committed to service. Is a really, really big part of weddings. I feel like a lot of times, You know, the service is kind of an afterthought. That's something that we want to, Sullivan's is known for. We don't want to take that same service that's in the restaurant to the guest. But number one, and of course, most importantly, is the food. We want to cook our food. We cook it hot and fresh on site. And I think that's what separates us from everyone else. We've really made an investment, spent thousands of dollars on the equipment to be able to cook that on site for our guests, which is enabling us to have just really, really fresh food. And I think that's been a real key for growth.
And one other question I meant to ask you a little earlier, but you've had people literally from all over the world in here, right? Do you have any idea how many countries and how many?
Gosh, I know I guess the funniest story that I can say is when we had the Wall Street Journal article came out in 2001. I had a
front page, no less.
Yes, front page left. That's a whole nother interview. It was crazy how that all kind of came to existence. And we had a guy reach out to us we didn't know till literally the day before that it was going to be a front page article. The editor loved it so much he bumped it up. And I had a guy it just was crazy once that came out. And about 5-6 days later after the article came out, had a guy that had read it in the Asian Journal. He was in Asia. And he was in Atlanta, and he called and said, "I want to come up and eat in your restaurant." So he had read about our restaurant in the Asian Wall Street Journal, came up, drove up from Atlanta, and had dinner with us that night. Got to meet him, great guy, had a great bottle of wine, and we talked, and just a neat story to think that someone in Asia read about Sullivan's Metropolitan Grill in Little Anderson and came and had dinner with us.
Well, you also, I've talked to Anderson County Administrator Rusty Burns and Burris Nelson, the Economic Development Director. I think you have a table set aside for them. They're always in here with people from around the world and around the country, and this is the first place I think they end up in Anderson.
Absolutely, they do. We're super thankful to be able to help represent our county well, and we try to do our best to try to give, put Anderson's, best foot forward, and we really try to work hard at that. And it's really neat to see that piece of how, the county, they come in and entertain, and to see how our county has grown. I mean, it's unbelievable to see the industry that we have here now. It's really something special.
Well, as somebody who moved here 20 years ago, you've become a pretty big cheerleader for Anderson. What do you think about the changes in downtown over the 20 years?
I just think it's been incredible. And to see, it's one of those things. I know that the city has probably taken some criticism years ago. They're not moving fast enough. They're not doing this. I've always been a proponent that's actually, I believe in how you do business and do it right. I've always been a proponent of moving things slowly, being very strategic, not rushing to judgment. And I feel like the city has done a really, really good job with that. They've taken their time in the growth of downtown, but what they've done, they've really done right. And we have a lot more stuff coming. Another big hotel that'll be coming downtown. Buildings are being bought up and developed just all around us. You see construction signs right now. So downtown is really growing. And I think I give a lot of testament to the city of really being patient and thinking about what they wanted downtown for it all to gel and work right. And I think they've just done a fantastic job.
So Sunday night, big celebration.
Yep.
Are there any tickets left?
There's a few tickets. Well, I would say probably have about 30.
Okay, so if you're going to get one, get quick.
Yes.
Tell us about the event Sunday night.
Sunday night is going to be a time we're going to do a big spread of food. It's going to be a great big dessert display because we know everybody loves Sullivan's desserts. We're going to have some live music, but a really great spread of food. And it's going to be a time we're going to kind of break in the action maybe about 7 o'clock. And I'm just kind of talking to everybody about the last 20 years and what the next 20 years looks like, and just thank everyone. And it really is just going to be a time of celebration. What I'm really excited about is we have some of our old staff that have been with us for, that worked and that I believe are really vital parts of where we are today, that most of the RSVPs I've gotten from them, they're all gonna come. So I'm really looking forward to our staff today, to meet our old staff, and to know that just, at the end of the day, Sabra and I are only two people. We're only as good as the people that we work with, and we just have the best staff in the world. So I'm really excited about that part, and really honoring them, and just kind of talking with them, and just a time just to, thank our customers that are coming, what we call our friends that'll be here, and it's just going to be a time just to celebrate. Sabra and I are really excited about both of our moms. Our dads have both passed away since we opened, but both of our moms will be here, so that'll be really special for us to have both of our mothers here to celebrate with us. Food, a spread of food. Yeah, I won't give you all of it, but we'll be doing beef tenderloin and lobster raviolis, and of course some shrimp and grits. Lots of Sullivan's desserts, and a lot more good food. But those are just to name a few. But we're going to have music. Yep, Ryan Capelli is going to be singing. Him and his sister will be singing a duet. It's going to be great music. Just good time, good friends. We're going to have a beautiful ice sculpture that we're excited about that'll be on the food display. That's going to be a lot of fun, celebrating our 20 years. And those that come are going to get a lot of fun little goodies, Sullivan's goodies that come too.
Are you going to be dancing at all? Is it?
Well, no dancing for Bill. I'm not a big dancer, but people are welcome to dance if they like. But we're just going to come around and hug a lot of necks and probably shed a lot of tears and just thinking, we're really humbled to think about 20 years of work and service in our community, and it's really humbling. I've had a lot of time in these last really month to reflect and just think about just how faithful God's been to us and just how faithful our community's been to us, and it's a real humbling, really humbling. We're just honored to be here, and Anderson's home to us. This is we love it. This is our home. I can't imagine living anywhere on the earth. This is it for us.